The TARDIS is under attack by the Doctor's enemies, Slitheen, Cassandra, and Sycorax. But don't worry, the Doctor can fight them off with his sonic screwdriver. Oh no!
The year is 2005. Doctor Who is back on TV, and everyone is loving it so much that we started getting new figures made by Character Options. Flash forward to today, and they're still at it. Did you know one of their first sets was a Dalek battle pack, which included two 5-inch remote control Daleks, each being different colours, along with a disco dancing Christopher Eccleston? Yeah. Fantastic idea! It was cool to have these different Dalek colour schemes in the set, but one of them stood out. I was convinced that this was artistic license. But while making a Dalek design tier list a few years ago, I discovered that this featured in a blink and miss it moment in the parting of the ways. It's just chilling there in the background, along with the Guard Daleks, which were also released as figures by character. The Battle Pack's initial release was indicative of the Daleks' successful 2005 revival and aided the company to release hundreds of characters from the worlds of Doctor Who. It may not be all that nowadays, with the inaccurate weapons and eye stalk sizes, along with the poorly aged Ninth Doctor, but this was a solid start for the most successful line of Doctor Who action figures ever made. For those still watching and wondering why the Obsessed Whovian is doing a video about something so obscure and not moaning about Doctor Who's current inability to embrace its future, it's because sometimes it's okay to look back at the past. Not too much though. You might end up with Billy Piper as the 16th Doctor or something. Oh, wait. Recently, Character Options released a Dalek set which echoes the first Doctor Who releases. Intentional or not, this set hit me right in the nostalgia. That familiar orange vortex energy on the packaging is reminiscent of the first figures I ever got, the Cult of Skaro set, also coincidentally featured on this channel's first ever video.
Sek, Just, Khan and Shay, and in this set they come with this Genesis Arc.
The Dalek appendages, now more accurate, made this set the ideal revision for something many had yearned to see. The paint apps are glorious. Honestly, the more I think about it, this set really does take me back to the past, just like Doctor Who has done.
This doesn't have a plunger, but it's got this arm, this assault arm, and you know, they can move all the way around, which is your normal stuff, and eye moves up and down, and can move around, and head can turn all the way.
Well, this is the camera I used at the very beginning, and that's me now using my current mobile to make this. Yeah, I know it could be better. I've alluded to this before, but it's good to look back every now and again to see your own growth. If you do the same shit over and over again, people are going to be bored. They're going to want to leave. Do you want to stay? Well, if so, it would be fantastic if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Obsessed Whovian. You can also follow me on Blue Sky. As for this Dalek set, it is a great piece of memorabilia, perhaps the most nostalgic out of character's history of the Dalek sets. As I never nabbed the original battle packs, which also included the 10th Doctor figure in some versions, it was a delight to see this get announced and subsequently get this set. While I'm on the topic of figures which evoke happy memories, this 3-pack was a nice novelty. It features repaints of a Clockwork Man and a Cyberman, along with River Song, who sports ginger hair. Not gonna lie, that looks weird. Pretty sure Alex Kingston didn't have ginger hair in her time on Doctor Who. The set name is crap, seeing as 2 of the figures are taken from the 11th Doctor era. I guess some people still just can't let go of the 10th Doctor. Maybe It goes without saying, the Daleks are probably the most iconic monster of all. The amount of excitement it brought to my house as a child was magical. It was really cool to see them in Shooty Gatwa's era. Play the clip. That's just archive footage from Day of the Daleks. Is that the point in this video? Just use archive footage of all material? Well, at least John isn't licking his lips in this clip. Creepy. I hope that this video gives a tiny insight into my fondness for the Daleks, whether it be for their recurring appearances on TV, on audio, or the countless amount of merchandise which has been made in their image. For many, the mere sight of a single Dalek in whatever form can make Whovians feel sheer joy. I'm glad the novelty hasn't worn off after all these years.
While editing this, I wanted to pause for a moment and just film a little extra segment for you, because I have unlocked some core nostalgia memories that I haven't even thought about for years, and I thought now's a great opportunity to talk about it. I've spoken about this particular Dalek set, how it's evoked so many memories, particularly with the packaging, that orange vortex design. One particular thing which I got back in 2005 was the 12-inch remote control Dalek. I've spoken about this a couple of times in the past. The 12-inch remote control Dalek is a gift that I got for Christmas in 2005. It was a very special gift. I believe it was the first ever Doctor Who gift, or amongst the first ever Doctor Who gifts that I ever got. I remember I got a ultraviolet sonic screwdriver pen thing. The best thing of all was that Dalek. Remote controlled, lights and sound effects. It was the best, right? I just loved playing with that thing when I was 10 years old. I remember driving it around the house, playing with my mum and dad and my nan, bless her. She's no longer here, sadly. Good memories, precious memories. I remember one day, I can't remember if it was the same day. It could have been a different day, not long after. It was because it was around the winter. It was a very bad day. It was very snowy. And I took the Dalek outside and I took it into the neighbourhood where I live. And I remember driving it around using my remote control and commanding it to exterminate everyone, and, you know, making it say certain phrases. I remember my parents rushed outside because they saw that I'd taken it upon myself to do this, the 10-year-old me that I was. And they were really concerned that I was gonna break it, basically, because the conditions were really bad. As I said, it was snowy, it was slippery, and, you know, they didn't want the Dalek to be damaged. Luckily, I didn't damage it, and I'm happy to say that 20 years later, I still have the Dalek. I'm not going to show it for you in this particular video, but I will probably show it off in a future video that I do at some point. Very precious item, and I just think this video has just really made me think back to really happy memories like that when I was 10 years old. But there was another core memory that I've not even thought about for many years, and I mean literally a really long time. This comes from around the same time, so this is just after I got this bronze Dalek, the 12-inch remote control one, for Christmas. And I remember it must have been in the next few days, or maybe early 2006. It was around the winter period, and my dad took me to a sci-fi store. It was this little novelty sci-fi store. It's in fact not that far away from where I live. I live in Preston, and the distance between my house and this little random store, it's about a 15-minute walk. not far away from my local train station. Well, it wasn't far away from my local train station because sadly the store closed and now it's just a takeaway. I remember going in here and my dad showed me around, and you know, it had all sorts of merchandise based on a lot of sci-fi franchises. And I remember that the shopkeeper was showing off this remote control Dalek that he had. I don't particularly remember too much. I'm not sure if it was for sale or if we were just showing it off as just like a little showpiece for display. You know, it was 20 years ago and my dad can barely remember and I can barely remember. And I remember looking at it and distinctly thinking, whoa, there's different Dalek colours. Because this Dalek, it was the grey design from what I remember. I swear it was the grey design, which is most commonly associated with the 1970s with stories like Genesis of the Daleks. And then it was just one of those where it just escaped my memory for many years. I haven't really looked too much into it, but I believe this could be something which was released by a company called Product Enterprises back in the early 2000s, so just before when we got Doctor Who back on the air. I do own a product by Product Enterprises, which is a Cyberman from Earthshock, which again brought back some memories because I remember getting that for one Christmas. I think that was like the Christmas after in 2006. I remember my auntie and uncle got me that, and yeah, that had some quotes from that era. And sadly, like, the voice chip on that isn't working at the moment, so hopefully maybe I could get that fixed one day. But yeah, Product Enterprises Cyberman was such a cool thing. That made me very happy, and I did a video on that many years ago. Once again, you'll be seeing the footage of that now. So just little things like that, little core memories, just very precious to me. And I just love how after all these years, stuff from Doctor Who that I get over the festive period, it's always a special thing. Most recently, I got a life-size cut-out Dalek from my girlfriend Evangeline, and that's a very, very special gift.
What is it?
Just check.
Surprise! Wow, that's so big.
I've been exterminated. I don't have it up in the house currently, but I plan to do so, and when I do, I'm sure that he will feature in many of my videos. Every little bit of merchandise I get, I feel, is precious because, as you know, I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. Anything that's Doctor Who, good or bad, it does have a meaning to me. And for example, stuff like this book that got released in the last few months based on the Daleks is really cool because it gives you a lot of insight into the Daleks, into the entire history. Love stuff like this, and likewise I got this just a few weeks ago. It's really good that something like this can just spring memories that I have just forgotten about just because of life. You know, I've been through a lot since I was a 10-year-old, and now here I am as a 30-year-old. And yeah, I just wanted to share that story with all of you.
To many, this is just a box with two figures, which happens to be a neat throwback to the mid-2000s. And that's fine. While it can be too dangerous to latch onto the past too much, Personally, I think that this is an example of nostalgia done right. The end product reminds us of something familiar while offering us something new. You know, it's kind of like what we're getting with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper returning as the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler for Big Finish Productions. The irony is that this is more exciting than just using blind nostalgia as window dressing for a show out of ideas. So, what I'm trying to say is, the actual message of this video is that the show needs to move forward. We can all move forward together. We just need to do it. I promise I won't use my old camera in any more of my new videos. Deal? Okay? Okay? See ya.